Welcome in. Going for two. Episode 156 is what I'm told. We are a man short tonight. Chad is on his way back from his excursion in BC because I think that was
Don't worry, I'm
that
carrying enough energy for two people right now.
that landed for both. Um, I'm sure that you will notice the different types of apparel, and we're going to get into Kalen's apparel in a second. You're probably wondering why would somebody be wearing a Blue Jay shirt on a football show? One, the Steelers got handled pretty heavily yesterday, and we're going to get into that because I have some theories and some thoughts about it. And two, even though Michigan State won 45-14, their coach was caught jerking off on some phone call, so now now he's suspended or
I wondered how you were going to bring that up, but
um,
okay.
so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah,
Um, so I mean, we got the Jays and the Rangers on in the background here, so we'll see how that goes. Pretty big series.
which is the reason why you're actually wearing this. I mean, baseball's pretty important to you right now.
Yeah, well, it's true. I do have my Michigan State hat on, so like,
So it's all you've got right now is baseball.
but yeah, I mean, just the fact that you could say like jerking off on a phone call, whatever. I mean, it could be more serious. I don't want to like poke jokes at it, but from the report that I read, I mean, whatever. We'll let the legal process play out, and if the guy did something wrong, then he'll be in trouble. But anyway, I don't want to bring the mood down. We should probably kick off with a little bit of college football. It's something that Kelly's always requested us to do, and
Oh, yes, she
I
has.
think it was probably the most significant thing that happened this weekend outside of UFC was the Texas Longhorns taking down Alabama.
What? What? Yeah, baby. We are so back. That was a complete game from Quinn Ewers. The defense looked just as good as it did last year when they played Alabama. They're spitting on all cylinders right now. Just like me, I am jacked. Like that was amazing to watch.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had things going in the right direction, and you kind of know that the season's headed in the right direction when you fall behind after leading for so long,
In Tuscaloosa.
and you can just quickly turn it around and throw it
Yep.
up in the air. I mean, the long passing game has been something that people have criticized yours about, yourself included, um, but it didn't seem to be an issue at all.
No, like Xavier Worthy is going to be potentially a first round wide receiver. I mean, he's proven enough in Texas, I think, at this point to
Yeah,
probably get that pedigree. But him taking the deep ball, the screen game to the tight end to Saunders is working amazing. The offensive line are hogs right now, too. So the protection is right there for Ewers. And if he needs to get outside of the pocket, he's doing it,
I
right?
actually thought Mitchell played well.
Yeah, oh, yeah, well, yeah. And then,
I mean, Georgia transfer, you wouldn't expect, and like that guy played minutes for Georgia. You wouldn't expect a guy that was on a two-time national championship winning team to make a move like this to Texas, but maybe he saw it. Maybe he saw that yours is going to be there. If you see that these guys are going to be potentially on that playoff stage,
well, hey, listen, I wasn't buying what you were selling last week mainly because you guys always talked about me being a homer. But there is definitely some weight to what you were saying as far as them making a playoff push here
yeah.
and being part of that bowl game.
But yeah, like there's no way around it at this point. I mean, the Big 12 has proven to be pretty weak, so I don't think that this like the mindset of this team seems different. So they're not going to lose to Baylor.
Mm-mm.
They're not going to lose to Texas Tech. Um,
Who almost took out Oregon this week. That was crazy. I mean, everybody kept, all during the Texas game, they kept flashing over to the Texas
yeah,
Tech game. Anything can happen in Lubbock. Anything can happen. You never know. Unfortunately, fortunately, they lost
well,
because who cares about a Big 12 team? But
yeah, and at the end of the day, like the Big 12 is what it is right now. Um,
what do you think as far as Texas putting the SEC on notice? Because for the last 3 years, since this has been rumored and then officially became true that they were moving over to the SEC, the chance from every SEC fan to Big 12 teams, Oklahoma and Texas, was SEC, SEC won't, basically won't be able to handle it.
yeah,
What kind of are they on notice now, or is
uh,
Alabama just on the other side of things right now? Or the dynasty coming apart?
well, I think that they're on notice for sure. Um, but I do think that like the Alabama team that you beat this year isn't the same Alabama team that was out there last year.
Oh, stop it!
And well, I'm not saying that we both agree that if Ewers played last year that they probably would have won that game in Texas too. But
With Bryce Young.
with Bryce Young, but I'm saying they're weak at quarterback. They're not deep at running back. They didn't seem to have the bodies at receiver. They did have 350-pound linemen, so I mean,
Oh yeah, that offensive line was crazy. I know Texas has a big line,
yeah.
but then when you see Alabama's line walk out, I'm going, it is just wild. But I think it just straight up comes down to I know that it's easy for me to try and compare the team that we're watching now to the team that won the championship back with Vince Young and them, but it comes down to the defense put the team in great positions
Yeah.
every single time to be successful. The offense doesn't have to carry the team anymore. They didn't have to do it last year either, but we made fun of Texas for how bad and Big 12 football for how bad their defense had been over the last few years. But right now, that's not what we're seeing.
No,
We're,
no.
we're definitely seeing an college playoff ready defense on the field. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know what? Moving forward, they should have a decent path to get to where they need to be. Um, Overall, do they walk in and own the SEC? Probably not.
Well, Georgia's still there.
Yeah, Georgia's still there, and like Georgia's still yet to be tested. And but I think that yeah, they're recruiting. They've done enough to recruit. Stark seems like he's got his mind together on how he wants to call plays, and you should be excited.
Well, now I really am interested to see. I don't think they've announced it yet, but the alignment. Like, where's Oklahoma going to land in the conference, and where
Mm.
is Texas? Because you have a game like Texas and Alabama have to play. Like, it has to be a bigger. It's not just they're in the SEC, but they have to be almost in the same division. It's got to be those two powerhouses going at it, fighting for that one spot, right?
Right, right, and we'll see how that all breaks down. But I mean, I think that those two teams should play each other as much as possible. Um, but the SEC schedule is just going to be wild now. And when we have a little bit more free time, we'll talk about how the effects of what the Big Ten's doing and what the SEC is going to be doing are going to have on the way that we view what the playoffs are today. And overall, knowing that all the top teams are going to be basically in two and a half conferences, you know that you can walk into the playoffs now with two losses.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to worry about, look at some of these teams that are in the top 10 right now. They haven't been tested by anybody. At least Alabama and Texas put this game on the schedule. Now, I don't imagine Nick Saban put this on the schedule knowing that Texas would be 11.
Well, it's just Buddy Stark, though. I mean, he's going to want to play
Still,
against him, right? And last year, like, was a great game.
still, I get it. Like, you definitely, college football needs to make sure that one or two games are lining up every week, especially before conference play. But, if you're Texas, or sorry, if you're Michigan, Ohio State,
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
Why does
like,
Michigan get so much love, man? Like, I get they have a good team, but like, I just again talking about not being challenged. I feel like that when they were challenged last year, they fell apart.
yeah,
But I feel coming off of a big loss, you don't become as highly ranked as you are, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. I don't know where the hype is. I'm not even gonna pretend like I've watched a single down of a Michigan game this year. I'm not a JJ McCarthy fan. I will never be a JJ McCarthy fan. Um, but what are you going to do? But we also did, we might get back into college football a little later, but we had to start with that, being as you went fully decked out here. We should dig into, you know, there was NFL Week One,
It's kickoff weekend.
and it got kicked off automatically with the Lions taking down the Chiefs. I gotta tell you, like,
Shout out to our boy Josh, right?
yeah, and I
That's
was
a big win.
I was kind of underwhelmed by the game though.
Oh, it's because I had talked about not I'm bought into the Lions. I think that they can make some noise this year. They're willing to run through a wall for that coach. It just defeats me to hear you say that. And
Mhm.
it's like, what does the team have to do to win a game? Like I know Kadarius Tony is
I think both
probably the
sides. No, I mean
reason
it's
they
both
lost.
both sides. I was underwhelmed by the performance on both sides.
Well, I think I look at the defensive side of the Lions, and it's like that's the team, that's the side of the ball that has the question marks for me, right? They came to play.
Yeah,
Like they were in Mahomes' face. Now, mind you, Mahomes is missing his A+ receiver slash tight end slash do it all guy, Kelsey, right?
yeah,
And Tony clearly needed the reps because that looked like an absolutely horrendous game for him. But like, I still can't fault the offensive line was playing great up
yeah.
until they didn't. You know what I mean? The
Right.
defense just seemed like 4 quarters that was more important to them than it was the offense, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? You can't take away a loss in the league, so the Lions won and the Chiefs lost. And overall, I think for the Chiefs, good good to get humbled quickly. It's
At home.
how
Yeah.
it's the only way to get yourself back on track. Uh, I don't know if they can get back on track running the style of offense they ran against the Lions. They just don't have the receivers, and it doesn't look like Mahomes has any trust in anybody out there. So until Kelsey can draw double coverage in the middle of the field, I think those receivers are going to be in tough shape, and that's going to be that.
Well, Chris Jones is back now. I mean, I didn't get the chance to see the deal. I know that it's no new or new years. It's just all this year
It's all incentive based.
to make more money. So he's back. I mean, let's be honest. The guy is a game changer. That game was so close that I think that if we're talking analytics and betting and all that
Yeah,
jazz, that the wins above replacement of Chris Jones being there means they probably win that game,
could be.
right? Yeah. But still, let's. I made fun of Jared Goff long enough. I think I've got to eat my crow here. He wasn't playing a bad defense in Kansas City necessarily, and he came to play, and so did Amon St. Ra, right? I like this offense on paper. I think it's exactly what Jared Goff had in LA that he was able to bring finally over here in Detroit. And I'm excited to see what they can do for the rest of the season. Again, this is a coach that every player, not just defense, but every player wants to run through a wall for this guy.
And Jared Goff is apparently undefeated against Patrick Mahomes.
No way.
Yeah, he's beat him twice now.
Wow.
And according to the thing that I saw, his wife is significantly hotter than Patrick Mahomes' wife too. So that's
So he's
yes,
winning all around, eh?
less annoying. I think that anybody would be less annoying than that lady. But yeah, He's 3-0 against them now. So
Good for him.
you know what? We carried on into Sunday. Let's just rip the band-aid off.
Who's going first?
I'll take my medicine first. Um,
You
oh,
had the
Kel,
producer making fun of you here.
uh, he was.
Did you see the picture he put in the group chat with the total yards 199 to 1? The big graphic that got shared around everybody with the Steelers game. And I leave
Here,
it to our boy Liam to take shots at you
I
here.
just thought that was fun. Here's the thing. It's week one.
Yeah.
If you're gonna lose a game,
Uh-huh.
you want it to be non-conference.
Okay.
You want it to not. Obviously, you don't want it to be division. And I think that you want to get shit kicked because by getting shit kicked, you have just humbled the entire locker room. We won the preseason Super Bowl. We did. That the Cleveland Browns owned it for like 50 years. And now we took it over and we got to hold that thing and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullshit. Once the game started and I was watching everything start to unfold, the only thing I could think was like, fuck, I wish it was July. Cuz like I felt really good in July.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good.
Well,
Game plan wise, we weren't ready.
well, if it makes you feel like you're right, game plan wise, you didn't look ready, and that's unfortunate for a Tomlin-led team. But if it makes you feel any better, this is you played the team that probably most people think are going to win the Super Bowl, or at least be in the Super Bowl. Right?
Kelly's all over you.
All over me?
Yeah.
Why? What's wrong with Texas, Kelly? What's wrong? Take that hat off. I'm not taking it off. But yeah, so you guys played a great team. We knew that coming in. Bosa just got paid, so the guy's got a chip on his shoulder.
He wasn't really effective in the game. Overall, I think that like their defense was playing at like a week 15 level,
Hmm.
and our offense was playing preseason play calls.
And let's be real, Brock Purdy, the guy played a lot better than we thought he was going to play coming off
For
that
sure.
injury. The guy took shots. His doesn't look like he's lost any zip in his throw at all. Especially that last bullet he threw to Ayuk. I was like, holy shit! Like, what happened? He was never even injured. It seemed right.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to put any of this onto the players because I think that the coaches own week one. Schematically, if you're not ready and if you can't get your team ready when you this schedule came out in May,
Yeah.
you have to start doing this game planning in advance. Kyle Shanahan and his guys, they planned for this the whole time. Steelers were not ready. We ran the ball 10 fucking times. 10 times.
With two of the we saw what the other running back could do,
Yeah.
right? So with two great running backs, yeah, that's pretty crazy. I don't know if that was a game dictating kind of play
What
call,
it,
but
Matt Canada is a panicky bitch. And because he acted that way, he continued to throw the ball and like go crazy. And I remember Roethlisberger even calling him out for this too. Like he's the kind of guy that instead of catching your breath when you're treading water, he just wants to tread as fast as he possibly can, and then you just end up drowning.
yeah.
That's So if Kenny Pickett throws the ball 46 times in a game, we're not winning.
Yeah, and well, and now looking forward for you guys, obviously some cleanup. But what is like Deontay Johnson's health? It's a hamstring. You will know, Shane. You know one of the things that I say about hamstrings is that once they happen, they don't ever go away,
Yeah,
right? And I've seen it firsthand with first making fun of Julio, and then he came to Tennessee and pulled the same stunt on us, and
yeah.
then he went and did it in Tampa Bay, right?
All
So
right. Kelly is saying that Texas is going to lose the at least 3 games, and she's wondering where Chad. So Chad is on an excursion in BC. He will be back next week.
I hope that you were celebrating your win over SMU, Kelly. It was a
No,
fantastic win.
you know what? I actually am going to celebrate that win because they were 16.5 point favorites, and they ended up winning by 18. So I ended up cashing a nice little ticket on that. And Kelly, that is a great point. How about Baker Mayfield? We'll get off the Steelers and we'll make a pivot to some happy news. And was it Baker Mayfield winning, or is Minnesota just toast?
No, Minnesota's not toast. Listen, it was a close game right up until the last bit of the game.
Yeah.
I think this was just
It actually looked like he ran the offense well.
he did run it well, and it's. I mean, he's had receivers a lot of his career, but uh,
Not like that.
no, Mike Evans is out to prove something, right?
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like,
Yeah, well, of course, Chris Godwin's great, but I think Mike is going to touchdown. Mike Evans, like he's there, he's angry, he's pissed off. He didn't get a contract deal. He's out to get that next big one. So they're driven. I think when you have a wide receiver who's driven, and I think Godwin, I think he kind of looks at like Evans is like, or yeah, Evans is like his best friend, big brother kind of thing, right? So your buddy's not going to be around anymore either. So you're kind of driven to do one last year with him, right? And then Baker's just got this big chip on his shoulder. He's been pissed off for the last 4 years. So I think that's a team that they're just not good enough to do a lot. But
yeah.
week one is known as the liar week, right? You've talked about it. Don't go overboard. I'm not looking for all of my answers about my team in week one. And you mentioned about getting blown out. Unfortunately, they're conference, so it doesn't work in this situation for them. But they're not division, so
Yeah.
that's nice, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Like, one thing that we probably underestimated going into that game, and I'll be honest, I didn't wager on a single outcome of the NFL games. I was all props this week because I didn't
That's
have a
smart. You don't know.
I didn't have a read on anything.
Yeah.
But I would not have expected that the Bucks defense would play that well.
Well, but here's the thing: going into halftime, Jefferson's what 8 or 6 for 125 yards or 130 yards,
Yeah.
and then in the second half he was 2 for 12. Like they completely went away from him. Jordan Addison played well. He got a touchdown, right? And that's fantastic for the rookie.
Kelly, we did give him props. We said that he played with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, which is about as biggest prop you can give Baker Mayfield, I think, right? But no, Jordan Addison played well, getting that touchdown for the rookie. But like they just went away from Justin Jefferson. I don't
Yeah.
understand why. They tried to lean on the running game a little bit too much. Even though their running back had a good reception touchdown too, he fought hard for that touchdown,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it's a liar week. I'm not worried about Minnesota. Uh, Great for the Bucks. This is something they can hang their hats on the end of the season. They started off pretty well, but let's be real. The gas is going to run out in this tank pretty soon.
Well,
I know it's week one. I'm saying that, but like I just don't expect this to last.
the thing is, like, I don't. Well, Toronto just went up 2-1. I don't believe that the Bucks coaching. Well, maybe the coaching. I don't believe that the Bucks front office wants them to win these games. They're looking for
Okay,
a Caleb Williams
I'm like,
or
whoa.
A Drake May.
Before we go too far, you said his name. You saw how he played this past weekend. Are you on board yet, Shane? I'm going to ask you every week.
I have no problem with the guy. So I'm just saying.
For the record, we're talking about Caleb Williams here.
I'm just saying. I would rather have Drake May first overall than him.
I don't know.
I want a guy that can stand up and pass, and I don't I don't want, and it's not a shot against Jalen Hurts, and it's not a shot against Patrick Mahomes. I want to have an understanding of what my quarterback's going to do. If you gave Caleb Williams to Kyle Shanahan, I don't think that it would go well.
It's odd that you say that because for how long was Roethlisberger in the league?
Almost 18 years.
King of improvisation, I think, right?
Different though.
Oh,
Different.
Ben
Roethlisberger was never throwing it like this. He's throwing it with like 50 guys on his back.
Yeah,
It's
after
different.
running to the right for 20 yards first, right, trying to get back. But no, okay. Well, sorry. Yes, you're right. The Bucks don't. You're right. They probably don't want to win that many games in this year in order to be able to fall in line with a quarterback draft spot, right? They need to. This is a
Yeah.
team that they're going to have all the money in the world in 2 years. Anyway, not
Well,
not next year, but
in reality, and like they kind of dropped the ball on this. If Mike Evans isn't coming back next year for them, and there's still time, like things can happen. There's no way that the Kansas City Chiefs aren't giving you a first round pick for this guy right now. And if you could get a first and a fourth and swap him back like a fifth round pick or something, how do you not take that, knowing that you're trying to potentially rebuild your roster?
play devil's advocate for with you a
Okay.
little bit here, though. I am bought in on Rice. I know that's game one. I am totally bought in on that wide receiver, though.
Yeah.
And this is
Okay.
a receiver that Patrick Mahomes fought for. He asked them to draft him. He probably would have went higher if the Chiefs didn't, or sorry, he would have done the team. If the Chiefs didn't take him at the spot they did. He got his touchdown in that game, right? I'm bought in. I think he feels the field. I read an article that talked about him being like that young Juju, just finding the zone spots, and
Uh-huh.
that's exactly what this guy can do. He's got great hands. I don't think they need the wideouts. They just the Mike Evans on the first round pick. That's just it's a hefty pick to give up on a team that I think is going to have holes in a lot of spaces with a $350 million quarterback, right? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that would have been preseason. On week 8, when week 9, when trade deadline rolls around, you're probably getting him for a third.
yeah,
And then I think you're taking it.
yeah, fair. Yeah. I mean, if he's available for that, I think you do. If you're making that big push for sure.
Uh, like let's talk Tennessee and New Orleans. And you know what? I thought Rangers just tied it up. I thought that the Saints were going to be a decent team. I thought that Chris Olave was going to have a breakout year. Um, but I didn't watch any of that game,
Mm-hmm.
and I only know the score and kind of the stats. But are you on my side and you think that the Saints have a roster together, or was this just too many turnovers produced by Tennessee?
Too many turnovers produced by Tannehill for sure. We had at the very least there was two touchdowns that were missed. Either Tannehill overthrew or went through the wide receiver's hands. They had a block punt which helped them. Now I also am going to argue that last year, Titans fans who probably wouldn't remember this, but there was a specific play in the game against Jacksonville when they were playing the last game of the season where Dobbs had his hand knocked forward
Yeah.
and they said it was a fumble and they gave the ball over. The exact same play happened in the Titans game, exact same play, and they called it an incomplete pass. On that incomplete pass, Bayard returned that fumble for a touchdown,
Hmm.
and they got 3 points out of it. That's a 10-point swing,
That
and they
is, yeah.
lost by 1 point, right? So
Right.
that's huge. I think that again, this is an outlier week, or this is a liar week. You mentioned if you're going to lose, make it non-conference. It's great. It's NFC versus the AFC, and the Saints aren't anything to laugh at. I don't think
Yeah.
that Derek Carr played great. Michael Thomas played better than I thought he would because he essentially
He
had
hasn't
played
played in like
2 years.
3 years, right?
Yeah, 10 games in 3 years. So seeing him out there doing his Mr. Slant was great. Not necessarily against my team, but their defense is they're ballers. This is a team that has had secondary there for as long as I can remember. And Marshawn Lattimore, we just went and pumped the tires on Mike Evans. Who shuts down Mike Evans every single game that he plays him was Marshawn Lattimore.
Kelly's on my side, by the way.
What that was that?
She is wondering what Caleb Williams has done. And as a starter, he has seven. He's lost 7 games.
And he also has some of the best highlight plays in all of football
Yeah.
and doesn't have any talent around him.
Doesn't have any talent around him.
Well, I mean, compared to
Come on.
who are the other top name quarterbacks who you may be comparing him to, certainly might have better talent than what he's got around him in the
Yeah,
Pac-12.
I mean, last year, like you could say, C.J. Stroud might have had better receivers, but
Might have, might
eh,
have had better receivers.
maybe.
Well, he definitely had better receivers.
Well, I mean, you're looking
Didn't
at
like two of them go in the first round, and then the other
just
one's
one,
going to go this year in the first.
just one.
Oh, hey,
Yeah, no, Kelly, I agree with you. I'm not sure that a guy that I mean, not that he transfers out of Oklahoma. He followed his coach. He did what he needed to do, but everyone has anointed this guy the first overall pick, and I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't. Yeah, and I agree. He probably had some great receivers at Oklahoma too, because Oklahoma is usually pretty loaded for receivers. Like they're generally not like first round picks, but they're guys that go later in the rounds and still end up having careers. One of them is actually on Broncos right now, but I
the
guess
hammy guy.
yeah, I guess to the same yeah to the same point, you couldn't say Drake May has done. anything to solidify himself as the first round pick. But he looks like a first round pick, and to me, he still has like the intangibles. But at the end of the day, the draft isn't until April. We actually might be there, so that's gonna be pretty sick. But
But
yeah,
yeah, so three interceptions by
yeah,
Tannehill. I'm
okay.
not ready to give up on him yet, just because it's still early in the season, and a lot of them were fourth plays out to DeAndre Hopkins. This is the first game time action that DeAndre, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill, outside of three handoffs in the last preseason game, have even seen on the field together. It's going to take time to gel. Even Traylon Burks, you've never seen game time in preseason, so it's going to take time, man.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like in the NFL, it's such a different atmosphere than college, right? In the NFL, you don't need to be great right away. You almost want to experience the adversity right like in the first 4 weeks. And you want to develop what you think your roster is in the first 4 weeks or where you are or really establish what you're going to be doing. And you know what? Like next week, if we go and play Cleveland and they whip our ass, and then the following week we play the Raiders and we whip our ass, well, guess what? We're probably not ready. But
Well, one thing I do want to point out about the Titans, and I'm excited for you to watch
yeah.
them, is their front seven. I think that's a crazy fast. They're going to put up some noise this year, sack wise. So
Well, I'm going to see the Steelers and Titans
I know.
Thursday,
So you pay
Thursday night
attention.
football.
Hopefully, there's no injuries up until that point.
Yeah. Injuries have been kind of creeping around.
No,
Obviously, J.K. Dobbins
man, and
tore his Achilles. Like that guy,
he can't stay healthy. And I think it's
can't,
because you jinxed him.
he
You
can't
said
catch a
you're
break.
over him,
I am.
and now you
I
got to
am.
be over him.
Yeah.
The Ravens are going to be over him too.
Well, you know what? And let's talk a little bit holistically as a division, because obviously we were talking about week one might not matter. But if you look at what the Browns just did to Joe Burrow, and if you look at Lamar Jackson versus Houston, I think that what we thought was going to be a loaded AFC North, and this is a warm take for post week one, is probably not. It's not that loaded. It's really not.
Well,
I
again,
think Baltimore sucks.
well, yeah, I'm not really bought in Baltimore either. I mean, Zay Flowers, sorry, he had
Yeah,
that really cool.
he played fine, and you know what? Like Odell Beckham's highlight reel was pass interference calls,
Yeah.
and like obviously they were missing Mark Andrews, which you never want to discount like a weapon like that, but that's ridiculous. Their team sucks.
Now, I'm not, the Bengals getting whooped and everything. Again, week one being the liar. It was a cold and wet kind of game, right? It doesn't really bode well for the offense that they like to bring to the table. Again, not a lot of game time together to kind of prep towards it. And as much as the defense is like winded pretty quickly
Yeah,
in the early part of the season, these guys are running around pretty hard on offense too. I mean, they've got to catch a second win too. So, divisional game. I said it coming into our boy Jeff, who decided last year he's going to be a Bengals fan.
yeah.
Yeah, but I said, you guys, it's a divisional matchup. You can never really tell who's going to go in the win column there. But I still think they got the better team and they should win. Unfortunately, they got their butts kicked, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they're going to win that division. So,
Well, it's for the Joe Burrow fans of the world, this happened to him last year too.
yeah, yeah.
He had gotten his appendix out during the preseason. Went and they played the Steelers week one last year, and he threw 5 interceptions.
Oof.
So um, this is a common occurrence for him, and yeah, I guess weather's the great equalizer. But another team that just decided not to run the ball, and
And our boy Chase got a healthy scratch that game. I drafted him in fantasy just for the hope that hopefully he does take over week
yeah,
6 kind of thing. But this is a game I was really surprised when I saw the weather come out. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be a running game. And then they didn't run it. They didn't, not only did they not start our boy or bring our boy Chase into the game, but they didn't run it at all even with the other two that they had.
they
So it's
had the
crazy.
same game plan the Steelers did. It was just like we're gonna throw, 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 throw.
I don't get it. Like, and that's just some of the bad coaching that the
Yeah,
Bengals can bring to the table, right?
yeah, and whatever. I mean, moving on into on to the next week. But um, what do you make of the Patriots? Because I was watching just the tail end of that, and you know what? After this, we're going to get into that division because I think that we might overlook Miami a little bit. But do you think that the Patriots might have something? No, they have nothing, and the Eagles just kind of like just let them back in.
I think the
They
Eagles,
left the barn door open.
yeah, they seem to take the foot off the gas a little bit. They went a little bit pass heavy, and when they were running the ball, even in the second half, they were taking gashes 6, 7, 8 yards at a time. They went to the passing game, and unfortunately, they got sacked a couple of times on those.
Yeah.
Uh, Jalen Hurts was definitely running around against it. And that offensive line is supposed to be one of the best ones in all of football, especially with running the ball with one of the highest graded run offensive lines last year. Continue to do that. You pick up DeAndre Swift. The guy barely saw any action, and that was upsetting for me because I had him in fantasy too.
Yeah.
But I thought this guy, all the reports where he was going to take this premier lead back role potentially, didn't do that. And even though he's my fantasy quarterback and Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to get hit for this, and even though I've said this before, I'm still not sold on this guy. Like Bill Belichick, what does he do? He brings a complicated defense to the game 9 times out of 10, and they're successful that way. What did he do this season or this year? He brought a complicated defense to the game, and Jalen Hurts got sacked a bunch.
Yeah.
Matthew Judon played great, and the offensive line looked horrendous on the right side when Judon was able to get through the outside there. But this is a receiver or a quarterback that last week Bill Belichick said was probably the best in football.
Malcolm is wondering why.
My what?
I believe he's talking about your hate for Jalen Hurts.
Oh,
So I'll
what?
let you speak directly to Malcolm. I'm going to get another beer.
Yeah, I'm not totally bought on the hype of the 1 yard rush touchdowns or the 1 yard for fourth and ones kind of thing. And mainly because I think that he has a very good cast around him. We talked about the offensive line being fantastic, and then having three good receiver threats and two wide receivers, and then the tight end and Dallas Goddard. And maybe it's because I'm a little bit bitter that AJ Brown is there, giving him 1,400 yards last year instead of putting that in Tennessee. Okay, so maybe I'm a little bit bitter, Malcolm. I'm sorry. Okay,
All right.
just because Tannehill had AJ Brown, he put up 1,400 yards too.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, it's week one, and everyone still kind of has their chance. Uh,
Correct. The biggest issue is our running back.
okay, yeah. So it seems like Malcolm is a Philly fan.
Yeah,
Malcolm
yeah.
Malcolm is a guy that Liam and I box with.
Well, I know Malcolm.
You do?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
You don't want to get hit by him, so you might want to keep that Jalen Hurts shit out of your mouth.
Well, I've harped about Jalen
No,
since
I know.
college. I've not been a fan, and that's probably because you were the conference he came from first originally, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So let's pivot for the Dolphins for a second.
yeah.
And when Tua's brain is all intact,
New helmet.
the guy's unreal.
You
Did
see
you
the
see that thing?
Yeah, got the extra padding in the back. You know what I'm really surprised about is that this helmet's been around for a couple of years apparently. They were talking about it a few times. Why is everybody not wearing it? I don't get it. There's extra padding back there. Like, you don't have to wear a seatbelt, but if you do, it'll save your life. You know what I mean?
It's basically like the guy's got a um what was it? What is the thing that pops out if you get in a car accident?
Airbag.
Airbag. He's got like an airbag in his helmet. So
No.
I might need one for my helmet. But yeah, Tua goes for almost 500
Yeah.
yards. Tyreek Hill, he's basically uncoverable. But
Still, somehow.
imagine if someone were to have Tua and Tyreek Hill on their fantasy roster, how they might feel this morning. And I gotta tell you, put a smile on my face. It put a big old. So I was back and forth of, do I start Russell Wilson first day in the Sean Payton offense? Drew Brees was technically like, he was a typical like top 10 fantasy quarterback, and I was like, you know what? I believe in Tua. Like either he's gonna throw for 400 yards,
Never said that.
or an egg is gonna crack on his head and it's just gonna roll down in his brain.
Biggest shock there. They're getting really comfortable. Yeah, they are getting really comfortable. And then the biggest thing that the advantage this team is going to have, besides just the amount of speed they have, what else? Like that catch and run that he had there, where he broke forward for another 35 yards. But the biggest advantage that they still have yet to have is the humid air that hits that area in the next
Yeah.
2 weeks to 6 weeks.
Well, that was a road win too. I mean,
Mhm.
nice controlled environment and nice and
Controlled.
comfy.
When are the Chargers actually going to have a home game? I heard more Dolphins chants and cheers after their touchdowns than I heard after the Chargers getting touchdowns. It's embarrassing. This is a team that's good.
You know what? This was another thing that rattled me, and I'm glad you just said that because as I watched the Steelers game, and it was a sold out crowd. The crowd was nuts, but there was way too much red. So I am officially going on record and telling every Steelers fan,
Steelers Nation,
because
you're in trouble.
these are all season ticket holders.
Yeah.
You guys are money grubbing whores. That ticket price went up to like 7, 8, $900, and you just jumped on it. The San Francisco fans took over your seats, and their football team owned us on the field. You should be ashamed of your fucking self.
Well, now you know what pretty much every other team has felt like for the last
But
five
that doesn't
years.
happen to
Shame.
us, man.
Yeah, I know.
Especially like with all that like hype coming into like they're probably happy that they took the $900 now, but
Mm.
like overall, just an embarrassment.
Now, what did you think of that new running back that they brought in? The guy who was like super quick but a little bit small. They didn't really get a chance to use him too much, but
Yeah,
this is just another element to their game where it's just like I feel McDaniel's is playing Madden. He's like, who's the fastest players? Can we put them on our team and nobody's gonna be able to cover them? And it's working. Like Tyreek Hill, I keep thinking all he has is speed, but then you look at the route running this guy has, and it's
he's
incredible.
getting better and better.
And then you look at the hands. That one floater pass for the touchdown in the end zone, where
Yeah,
it's just over top of the body to have that kind of concentration on top of the speed element that he brings to the table. This is a team that, as the hamstrings on the corners begin to tighten up over the season,
yeah,
they're just going to take advantage of that. It's incredible.
and yeah. I mean, another team that was a standout, and obviously we're counting down to we got the Bills and the Jets here, and we'll take you all the way to the Bills and the Jets kickoff, and we're watching the Rangers and Jays over here. But a pretty big statement was made by another team over the weekend. And I think we both know where we're going here.
Oh, damn it, man. Are we talking about the richest or the most valuable team in football again?
No, no, no. I
Okay.
I don't think we only talk about Cowboy stuff if it's hate.
Okay. All right.
Um, I think the Green Bay Packers
Oh, okay.
might have made out like fucking bandits in this trade for Aaron Rodgers. And it's not that Aaron Rodgers is bad. It's just he didn't fit what they wanted to do there. And I believe that Jordan Love is actually a legitimate starter in the NFL. And anytime you can put those kind of points and utilize what you call weapons, I mean, Aaron Jones kind of pulled up lame at the end, but anytime you can put that guy in the slot and just hit him, you don't have to be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers to win games. You just have to put the ball in the playmaker's hands in the right spot. And I thought Jordan Love was incredibly impressive.
Looked great. You know who didn't look great? The Bears' offensive line.
Yes.
The new retooled offensive line. One of them being a former Titan too. We got paid a lot of money to go over there
Yep.
to play right guard. But 9 pressures across the board here. 9 pressures, 5 pressures, 5 pressures, 5 pressures, 1 pressure. What are you going to do as poor Justin Fields when it's hot and it's in your face? Like I saw
Joe,
this happen last
Joe,
year.
we are going to get to you. I promise. We are going to get to you. We have not forgotten about your Cowboys.
Oh God, I'm gonna vomit. But yeah, the offensive line in Chicago fell apart. This is something that the team was hyping up all year or off season was that this offense was going to be retooled. There was a good image of DJ Moore kind of sitting off of the sidelines, realizing he was still playing now in Chicago, and it's just like playing in Carolina. But it's a team that I'm sure can fix some things. But their offensive line, like no team is going to win, no matter how good your defense plays, no matter how good your quarterback is, if your offensive line is garbage, like that showed, then you're not going to win that game. Sorry.
Yeah, and they played against a Bears team that came in with a lot of hype, a lot of undue accolades. I think Justin Fields is still going to have a great year. I I would still say that that's another coaching error in their game plan. I don't think that. I mean, we didn't give Jordan Love the respect. I don't think that the Bears coaching staff gave Jordan Love the respect that he was getting, especially missing Christian Watson. They're missing a few other. They're missing somebody else, but anyway.
I was ready to give him a little bit of respect until did you see the Fox Countdown little Barbie special they did with it, the little
Yes,
sing along? You
yes.
lost me, Jordan Love. I don't know what the heck was going on there. I was ready for you to take over the Green Bay Reigns, but that was crazy.
I don't think that was actually him.
Was it not him?
No, I don't think so.
It was him singing. It was all about him being Jordan Love.
I think that was like an impersonator.
I don't know. I think it was him.
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge that. But
All right.
yeah, it looks like the Eagles and the Cowboys might be fighting in the chat there, so that's fun. I Joe is just like he's always fighting with people in the chats. I love that guy.
Well, that's what Cowboy fans do, right?
Yeah.
Get their
Well,
5 minutes of fame.
yeah. Let's give the Cowboys their
Oh,
5 minutes of fame here because
here it
you know
is.
what? What I'm gonna say is I think that overall the Cowboys are going to have a significantly better year because McCarthy's calling the plays. He didn't seem to put Dak in any bad positions. I think that the offense might not have been as sharp as they need to be, but you don't have to be in week one, especially when you win 40 to nothing.
Yep.
But that defense is pretty dialed in.
Oh, that's what it was. Hot sack. I mean, we're talking about offensive lines. If you got a bad one, you're never going to win, and that's exactly what we saw in that game. Daniel Jones was running for his life in a wet field, and the fans were running for their seats back home
Yeah,
before halftime even
I would
happened.
have too.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was embarrassing for the Giants to get smacked like that. Um, Overall, you can give nothing but credit to the Cowboys because I don't think that they did anything wrong in that game. It will be interesting to see what happens when they play the Eagles because we were pretty much ready to give the Eagles the division back in July, but now that we've seen week one and we're just going to react to only the information that we have, I think that the Cowboys could beat the Eagles. Uh, because they're so fast up front. I
Okay.
don't think Jalen Hurts can make the plays.
Malcolm, I'll give you this. Jalen Hurts is better than Danny Dimes, and you guys know that I've been riding Danny Dimes for a long time, okay?
Danny Dimes is spitting out nickels.
He's
Is
spitting out some
is
nickels, yeah.
that is a direct quote from Joe.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. The defense is what won the game. Like Dak Prescott had like 140 yards or something like that passing. It wasn't a great game as far as like offensive output. Tony Pollard had 2 touchdowns, but this was a defensive win, right? And again, it was a wet game. This is how defenses are going to win the games, unfortunately. But I'm not. That's sold.
When it comes down to it, in November, we will make sure if this Cowboys team stays healthy in November,
Is that when
they're a problem.
was that when? Okay, when is it that they match up against the
The
Eagles?
Eagles, I have no idea. But I'm assuming, and when I say November, I always think of the Cowboys and American Thanksgiving, and that's usually when you gauge your season as a Cowboys fan. I know that because one of my buddies, New York Rob, that's what he used to tell me is I don't worry about my Cowboys until Thanksgiving.
It's like you're not worried about the Jays until it's like July or August or something like
Yeah,
that.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, July 1st is well, I guess you could look at it June 1st too, but in baseball, you can't react until you have like a sample size. In football, because the sample size is naturally smaller, you got to maybe react sooner. But I mean, if that's when the Cowboy fans want to react, then let them.
They're playing Washington for the Thanksgiving game.
When do they have the Eagles though?
They got them in November, early week of November, and then the third last week of the season. So
Right. So that's the measuring stick at this point, right? The sprint has started. It's can you stay healthy and can you continue to build off of that? I guess on the flip side, if you are the team that gets blown out week one, you just throw out the tape and you move on, right?
yeah,
Like you. But if you're the team that's doing the blowing out, and I guess we'll call it 49ers and Cowboys, and I mean if there's anybody else that should be in that mix, put them in there. But how do you keep those two teams focused?
well, you mentioned it, Mike McCarthy. This is what you're there for. You're a
Yeah.
veteran coach who's been around teams that have caught success pretty early and been really, really successful on offense specifically. Ride that wave, lean into that ability that you have, right?
Yeah.
Now with Joe being in the chat, one thing that I look for in week 1 through week 3, typically every season, is former players. Where did they go? How are they doing in their spots? That's why I brought up Nate Davis, who got paid a lot of money as an offensive guard to go and play in Chicago. I want to know what Joe's take is and what the other Cowboys fans' takes are on how Ezekiel played in the New England system. What is he going to bring to the table? What can he be as far as a running back this season? The Yahoo projections say 400 yards rushing. Like that's a really limited amount that I'm seeing right
Yeah.
now. So I don't know, Joe. Did you get the opportunity to watch them, or did you watch them at all?
So I only saw the tail end of that game. Basically, once I mean I watched the Packers one, and then I was watching a bit of the Miami game at the end. Um, and then I put the Pats Eagles on because I thought like, wow, are they really going to come back here? Like that'd be such a ridiculous comeback. But overall, I would say exactly what Joe just said. Expect a whole lot of nada.
Whole lot of nada. Well, but he's still got one of probably the coolest pendant in all of football now, right? The 15-21 reverse.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I mean, he's. I know. I was never a fan of him coming into the league. Um, the fact that he basically decommitted. Well, he they went into Michigan State went in there and beat them 7-6 in a game. And when they asked Zeke after the game what he was going to do, he said he was going to go to the NFL. Not like that wasn't the end of the season. Just like okay, like you're a piece of shit.
Now, do you think Zeke, because he used to jump in the big red bowl in Dallas, does he gonna go hang out with the Musketeers in New England if he gets a touchdown there?
It's a big if.
Go and fire a musket off.
It's it's a big if, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think uh I think a guy like Zeke maybe has scored his last touchdown in the NFL.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you were one of those Yahoo prediction guys, 400 or less yards then kind of thing.
I mean,
Point one touchdowns.
yeah, I mean, if he had anything left, Jerry was attached to him, he would have kept him around.
Yeah.
And the fact that they moved on from him so quickly and didn't try and replace him, like I mean, Tony Pollard was there in place already, but they didn't try and bring in like a 1-2 punch. He was washed up. They would rather roll with a guy like Tony Pollard for 80% of the carries than have him around.
Jerry with another great soundbite. I can't even negotiate for Dak because if I did, I'd have to cut 6 to 9 players, and I want those 6 to 9 to win a championship this year. So I can't do that, Dak.
Yeah, yeah. We got. Do you have any final thoughts? I know we're kicking off here in about 2 minutes.
Week one was great. I mean, it was some good football. We did mention there were some injuries, but I think overall there was some pretty limited injuries to a lot of the players that we want to see play
Yeah,
all this year. So, I mean, that's great. We got a great game tonight, I think, to watch here between the Jets and Buffalo. How long has it been since we've been able to say that? Maybe the Mark Sanchez days?
yeah. I mean, who was your big? We're just 1-1. Who was your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment from week one?
Well, I have to hit home. The biggest disappointment was Ryan Tannehill. I mean, it was absolutely horrendous to come out like that. Biggest surprise, Brock Purdy. I mean, I was really not sold on this offense. I did not think what he was going to bring to the table with that surgery and the elbow injury. I had no idea. The zip is there. It is not gone at all.
Yeah, and for me, I'm gonna say biggest surprise was the Miami Dolphins and Tua. Uh, Overall, they went toe to toe with an offense that, in my mind, was significantly better than them. I I thought that it was going to be handled easily by the Chargers, and I think that the Vegas line opened the game at like 6.5 points or something like that. So, I mean, for them to continue to fight back, it kind of takes you back to I think it was last year, week one, where they ended up coming back and like scoring 28 points on the Ravens to win that game. But hopefully, if Tua can stay healthy and the overall scope of that team stays healthy, the Dolphins might actually give one of these two teams tonight like a run for their money. And I think we might be looking at Buffalo, Miami, New York Jets, New England in that.
Which means that we're probably going to have Darling on here at least 3 times through the
Yeah,
season, right? It's been like 10 years. Well, he's had a couple good years, but I mean, like, this is significant. This is the year, right? Like, this is where people putting the eggs in the
yeah.
basket for Miami.
And then yeah, for me, biggest disappointment would probably be Pittsburgh Steelers play calling. If you think that you're going to win games in this league with 10 rushes and having your second year quarterback throw it 46 times, give your head a shake. Don't be surprised if the Steelers lose to the Browns and it's a similar outcome.
Mm.
Matt Canada's not fired.
Oof.
Out the door week two. See, you wouldn't want to be you. But yeah, it seems like I've been agreeing with Joe a lot tonight. Yeah, definitely go Blue Jays. Um, that's going to do it for us for tonight. We will let you know if we're going to be here next week. We found out that the NFL is doing like a double header Monday nighter, so we don't know if we want to go toe to toe with the big NFL because they'll probably get us canceled in some
I
way.
know my mom will watch me, but I just don't know if you
Yeah,
guys will watch me. So
yeah. So overall, we will definitely be in touch. We will let you know what's going on, and we will. If we don't see you next week, we will see you the week after that. And go enjoy Monday Night Football.